you have a young person who's decided that no, this is not the sex I want to be. And this whole situation is taking place when that person is going to transition the gender.
Hey everyone, welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of In Our Humble Opinion. Ayo! I'm Gilbert Chia. I'm very happy to be back here with my two friends, crazy compatriots. Daisy Rani, cool grandma on the right.
Namaste, namaste, namaste.
And the
Here we go.
irrepressible...
Tourette syndrome guy.
Yeah, Tourette syndrome, Chris Hansen.
Handsome.
We'll see what he blurts out today.
Okay.
So today our show is all about danger. There is the danger we're going to talk about of doing a court case wrongly, and two public prosecutors are going to be facing a disciplinary hearing about the Parti case, even as Parti herself goes home. There is the danger of shopping online. We'll talk about what happens when you shop online and the kind of bizarre scams that you can run into. There's a danger, very real danger, of online radicalization with a 16-year-old boy, I'm sure you guys have all heard about it, who was radicalized and was planning to carry on a terrible plan of killing Muslims in Singapore. There's the danger of the COVID virus and how that is being tamed by the Trace Together tokens. There is the danger the Prime Minister is warning us about of being careful during the Chinese New Year about the COVID virus. And finally, we're going to talk about the danger of protesting on the streets when you have a cause. So let's start out straight away. We're going to talk first about Parti Liani. You guys have been following us on the story. We've been following this story. After 4 years, she's finally home. And this is, of course, the domestic helper from Indonesia who had been accused of theft by her former employers, who endured 4 years of detention and then was finally exonerated when evidence showed that she was not guilty of theft. And in fact, that her employers who had accused her had lied about this. So let's talk about this. We're very glad that she is home. I think that's a wonderful thing. And the poor woman has not seen her mom and her family in 4 years. The story's not over though, because she had asked for a compensation of $71,000. And this is based on the fact that she had lost $41,000 in salary between October 2016 and October 2020. So, that's $41,000. And also for expenses that had been occurred when the Humanitarian Organization for Migration Economics Home had put her up to help her with a place to stay. So the sum is very fair. What is interesting here that I found was that she had specifically asked the court to not seek this compensation from her employers because she realized that they had lost their job and she didn't want to put undue burden on them.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she asked then for the amount to come from the courts. So that's part of the reason, I think, why there's a bit of a slowdown and the case will not be heard for a while. So she's back home now without the compensation that we feel that she deserves. I certainly feel that she deserves.
I think, that's so magnanimous of her. I really, something for people to learn, man. People are not elites at all who have a real big, generous heart.
Yes,
Even
absolutely.
though she's been wrongfully imprisoned, wasn't she?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because of these people. But more importantly, I'm trying to understand this. Is it really possible for the courts to pay damages?
Okay, so I'm going to read to you what it says here, right? Her instructions were to go to the court instead for the compensation, as Liu had already resigned from his various positions in Changi Airport, and she did not want to add to his woes.
Correct.
So I'm not quite sure exactly how that.
Can I just say what happened? I mean,
Sure,
my knowledge.
Please.
You see, the fact of the matter is that, like you correctly said, she said, all right, no suing the employer, which would have been much easier, actually, if she had sued him and got what was due to her. But she went and sued the Attorney General's chambers. And she actually sued them for wrongful prosecution.
Yeah.
Now, in that case, only 10K is allowed under that criminal procedure. And she's asking for 71K.
Yeah.
And the judge told her very clearly that this is going to be a long process if you go to trial. But she and her lawyer, Balchandani, insisted on going to trial. And then later on realizing that no, it would be too much of, again, expense, public, our taxpayers' money and etc. The judge has requested that they go for mediation. Now, what is important here, I think, is that they want to just make a point to say that the procedure was wrong. And to make that point, they have to continue with this.
Yeah.
Because if you sue the employer, you make your money, you're gone, matter is over.
Yeah.
But if you actually sue the Attorney General's chambers and it comes to a discussion, it comes out in the open, it is mediated upon, hopefully procedures will be looked at, will be changed, will be rectified so that something like this never happens again.
It's for the betterment of civil society, man. Because this is part of due process.
Yeah.
And in the due process, if we sense something it may not be right, and it can be, it can be righted
Correct.
because
Made
of
better.
this, and made better.
But to do that, then
It's
there
just
will be
complicated.
time,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
because
More
of that,
complicated.
it will be dragged on, and
yeah.
she'll have to suffer some more.
But the joke here, there is actually this disposal inquiry. The disposal inquiry is apparently because there are other interested parties who've laid claims to some items.
Yes.
And
Bizarrely.
against Parti Liani, and that would be a black dress that Liu's son Carl claimed was his.
Because his, yes.
His. Oh boy!
I'm wondering, was he the one who asked for this, or is there something wrong with him? I mean, why is he?
Well, basically, all it says is other interested parties.
Who else wants it besides him, right?
Maybe they should just give it
We
to
can
him
surmise
as a gift.
that, and the black dress,
I'm
the
sure
black
she
dress
doesn't want it.
that Carl Liu says
Is his.
is his,
Yeah.
and secondhand pots.
So it is his means because the wife said it's not mine.
Don't
So maybe
know.
he's wearing it?
Hang on, there's some more. A used knife and a pair of chopsticks.
Oh God.
Yeah.
If this was a TV show, people would not believe it because it seems so
Yes, okay.
incredulous.
And she's
absurd.
gone and sued the chambers for frivolous and vexatious premise. So that is going to be something to watch out for.
Well,
and I'm
yeah.
sure we'll keep revisiting this premise again.
Yeah, we'll follow
so we can
this
follow
as
this
it
through.
develops.
Just when we thought that we could close the loop on this story,
No, it's still
it's not over
pending.
yet.
But
man.
all the best to Party and to
And
let's not
Balchandani.
forget and Balchandani. And let's not forget all the other domestic workers who have also suffered in different ways at the hands of the employers, not just here in Singapore but certainly around the world, that we do not know about. Okay, so spare a thought.
Before we close the loop on this particular show for this case, I just want to say that I just think that they should expedite this quickly. Based on what we've read, the prosecution is being sued, right? The case is going to be at the end of 2021. I mean, why? Let's finish this. Let's do this as expediently as we can, don't you
but
think?
you see, again, it's about procedures. I mean, justice is blind. Justice just can't decide and say, all right, this is bad for you, Party. Come, we put your case up there. And that's why the judge very clearly said, if you go to trial, it's a long process. Go for mediation.
Yeah, I know from past experience that doing court cases takes time. There is a calendar and you're slotted in.
Remind me not to mess with you anymore.
That's the thing.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm
that's
going
a different story. So now let's move on to another story about Singapore, and Daisy will fill us in about this: the danger of shopping online. And we've all had this happen to us, I'm sure, but nothing as absurd as this.
Well, this is rightfully a danger of shopping online because it's another day and it's another scam. And this poor woman, she got a really shrewd shock when she received her shopping item, which was purchased from Shopee.
Shopee.
Now, What she did was she wanted just a simple spray gun for
For the garden
washing
hose.
the car.
Yeah.
And so
What were you
on the
thinking?
e-commerce site,
Garden
she
hose
paid.
lah.
She shopped and she paid 98.57 cents for the spray gun.
Right. Not
But she
cheap.
did receive it. She did receive because she's going to do
Not
the
cheap.
car washing.
Yes.
Just to clarify, so you don't have any other things in your
I-
mind.
I have
There's the
nothing in my
car,
mind except-
and, the bzzz, and that's what she's thinking when she's
Yes.
bought it. And then the parcel arrived fairly quickly, 2 days later. And technically, it wasn't bzzz
It wasn't anything.
because
It
it
was
was just a parcel, a A5 sized envelope, and that puzzled her. And then when she opened the envelope, to her horror, she actually didn't see a car wash spray. She saw the picture of a car wash spray.
Yeah. I think
I mean,
it's
she was, I'm sure
The gall.
she must have looked at the picture and she was wondering, how the hell am I going to wash my car with this one? But she has submitted an appeal for a refund. So, the question here is that Shopee is a legit organization and it's, everybody, millions of people are shopping on Shopee. And platforms like this are built on trust.
Yeah.
How do you think this photograph of the spray gun is going to affect Shopee? And more importantly, what should Shopee do to stop this kind of
okay.
scams?
I shop at Shopee. I shop at Lazada, and they all actually have got very clear and fair procedures for
Correct.
disputes. So I don't think that's a problem there, and especially if in something as absurd and ridiculous as this. It's inevitable because Shopee is not a company that's actually selling product. They're an
Right.
agent, right?
It's
They're
an e-commerce site, a platform for trading.
And thousands and tens of thousands
Millions.
of people are
Yes.
selling stuff there.
And buying.
Yeah. So you have all of these. I think that they need to kind of safeguard more who they accept and
I went through
track record.
the terms and conditions, and they are really watertight.
Yeah.
I mean, the return policy very clearly saying, all right, in 15 days you can return it. And more importantly, if you want to return it, they inform the seller. And if the seller doesn't come back with any kind of information or
Response.
any kind of
Yeah.
response,
Yeah.
that's it. They don't pay the money to the shop,
yes,
to
exactly.
the buyer.
Because the amount is really held in escrow by Shopee.
Correct.
So
So they're
which
doing
is a
their
good
bit.
thing. They're doing their bit.
But then
their
it's interesting to
Their
see
bit, yes.
that even on platforms like this, legit platforms like this, you get these guys who squeeze themselves in
Yeah.
and are willing to go through a scam by sending
It's
the
insane.
photograph.
I don't know what they gain because they're not getting the money anyhow. Do they think that perhaps the person would not notice it and then don't lodge a complaint and then they end up getting the money? It's
No,
absolutely
but,
bizarre.
It's like those guys when you show, there are certain shows like the anime, and then they just download it, like they pirate it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not getting anything. It's just this pleasure of saying, I can do it. No,
Just get-
it is.
So
It's
I
like,
think it's a lot
I
of
can do
effort
it.
to put an ad in and all of that, and then to mail out a photograph and then not get any money for it. It's bizarre.
I tell you how I feel about this. I mean, from the standpoint of a consumer, yeah. First of all, it always worries me when I buy stuff online. And I do. Don't get me the wrong way.
Well, I don't.
I go through Shopback, I want to get my rebates back, and all that. Then I buy my supplements for my, workouts and stuff. I've shopped at Shopee. I still get the irritating notifications, which I should turn off. Shopee, all the time. And to me, right, when I shop on Shopee, I get my wife to help because it's so damn confusing sometimes.
So many
the
choices.
coupons here, redeem that
Yeah,
coupon
yeah.
there. No,
Yeah.
My constant worry has always been someone scamming my credit card. Okay,
Okay,
it's
true
happened.
enough. It's happened.
It happened to me twice on Wish. My card had to be the bank stopped it.
Wow.
And I've always got to wait for a new card
Yeah, that's a
because of
pain.
yeah,
Yeah.
But it's strange because they seem to also be a credible site, right?
Yeah.
However, the problem here, the number one, I think, worry for me as a consumer would be, I've lodged a complaint. What would one expect when you go on digital and you buy something? It's so immediate, right? You're also hoping for an immediate response. But so far, the thing is this. When an error like this occurs and someone makes it public like this person has, or this lady has, I think the PR is going to come into play very quickly, man. And just, hey, we heard you. We know about this. Don't worry about it. We're going to sort this out right now.
No, Chris.
No, it doesn't, because
look,
it's such a big company. There are millions of
buyers.
it.
And this is something
But their system protects you though, because you don't lose the money.
You don't lose the
You
money.
don't lose money.
No, and
so
this
she's
is-
highlighting it, but she has not.
I think this came up, and we are talking about it because in one way it's so strange and funny
I'll tell you
and
this,
weird,
okay?
getting
Yeah.
a picture
Yeah, of
instead.
course.
And
I'll tell you
that's
this:
what it
the
is, I
danger
think.
is not really in shopping with large online e-commerce platforms like Shopee or Lazada, because I've had problems with vendors that I bought before, but it was always resolved very quickly. There was one time when I bought a pair of shoes, and the shoes arrived, and they were not as shiny as what they looked in the photograph.
Oh, come
And-
on.
Yeah, seriously, because they were crystal covered,
He's
right?
Mr. Bling.
Oh,
Yes.
my goodness.
Okay, so I actually just wanted to return it. That's all I wanted. I said, it's not shiny, I want to return it. And the vendor who was in China responded immediately. He WhatsApped me and he said, we will refund your money, but you can keep the shoes. He said he didn't even
but
want
then,
me to
Gilbert,
mail the thing
the
back.
relation again is between the buyer and the seller. The relationship is not the platform.
No, I understand that. But I'm saying that the platform protects you if you're going through a platform like that, right? The danger, which is the one that I've had happen to me before, is when you see an ad online and it's just a website you go to. And it's not through Shopee, it's not through Lazada or any of these, but it's just a company on a website selling something. And then you enter in credit card details and you buy this item. And then, a month goes by and 2 months go by and you don't get your item. You go back to the website is
It's
gone.
gone.
So what happened? Did you get your shoes in the bling that you wanted?
No, the shoes thing was through Shopee or Lazada. That was fine. That was no problem.
No.
Because he just refunded my money, told me to keep
And
those.
she
You
kept
know
the
what happened to
shoes.
me, man? Just like you, I'm very fussy with this kind of thing. Because I ordered some boxer shorts.
I have a feeling this is going to be
This
is going to be quoted.
And you wanted to keep them.
and I wanted some beagles on it, my boxers. But instead, when it did arrive, it was just one long banana in the front.
No,
see
but
that
luckily
Tourette's
you
has been
didn't get
triggered.
the.
I mean, I really hated that, man. I
how-
just
how
wanted
about
my,
you got some
my beagles,
Labradors
man,
or-
not the long
Okay.
yellow banana sitting there.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
how
For
did
the
you
adults
send
to
it
come
back?
in.
Hey?
Did you send it back and get your
Ah,
refund?
hell, I just used it anyway. What? Yeah, go on, you
must
long
have been
yellow
so
banana
cute with the
floating down the front
beagles.
side
So
of
you
my
guys,
boxers.
Just be
And,
more careful about e-commerce and we will move on.
Oh, wait, and that's me now to talk about. But this is a serious
Yes.
thing. This is not about bananas
Seriously,
and
yes.
stuff.
Good.
Yeah.
You find a segue then.
I don't need the segue. Just chop right in. And this is a serious thing because I was reported yesterday that a 16-year-old secondary 4 kid, Singaporean, has been detained under the ISA, the Internal Security Act, for planning terrorist attacks on 2 mosques in Singapore. Now, this kid self-radicalized himself. Self-radicalized himself. That sounds pretty right still, right?
He was self-radicalized.
And he was kind of drawn in. Well, first of all, he's always been drawn in, apparently, according to the ISD, that he is drawn into gruesome stuff, that he's been to ISIS sites, and he saw the beheadings, executions of the Ethiopian Christians, and that made him mad. Then the recent Christchurch in New Zealand, the attacks by the Australian guy on 2 mosques, right? And he actually videotaped the thing with his phone on
Brenton
him.
Tarrant.
Now this kid then went about. He actually bought a tactical vest. Okay, he actually managed to get a tactical vest, and then he tried to get guns.
A machete.
No, the machete
he
came
came
later.
later.
Then it was realized that Singapore, our gun
Stuff.
laws are so tight. You can forget it, man. There's no way you can get one. Yeah. Even if you get a BB gun, you're gonna get arrested. Or a replica even. And so he tried to get machetes. Now, based on that Shopee story we just talked about, can you imagine that there were machetes for sale in Singapore on Carousel? Carousel was very quick to answer that. We just need to tighten this up because we don't condone these sort of things. They're very quick to do that, which is great. Now, this kid's plan, and he planned it to a T. So it wasn't just some form of, teenage, adolescent kind of fantasy. He planned it out. He doesn't have a car license. He wanted to steal his dad's Visa card or credit card to buy these items so that he could get his mission done. and he planned which mosque to go to, even changed his mind on one because he planned the routes to get in and actually hack people, and he was confident of even hitting arteries and all that and causing major damage. He was also prepared because he had two outcomes that he knew that could happen to him. One is that he's caught. The other is that he will be killed. You know, so it's he was prepared for this. Now, this boy is a Protestant Christian. He developed a hatred for Muslims. Okay, and he felt that Muslims were hell bent to really go to war and persecute Christians. And that was his stand. Now, the good thing is that he was caught. I think it was pretty good to read this, that Minister Shanmugam also said the same thing. That, he's a young boy, right? I'm not going to quote him. I'm just going to, it's not verbatim, yeah? So he's a young boy, and hopefully being a teenager, he can change, right? And they could counsel him and put him through, what's the word for it? As a detainee, they will rehabilitate him, right? And hopefully he comes about, okay? They're not going to stop his studying, apparently. They're going to help. So this is like reaching out and helping. But he did say this, that look, in countries where there is no ISA, you cannot arrest anyone until they've done something.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But in our case, we could nip it in the bud. That one, quote unquote. Yeah, nip it in the bud. Which, in this respect, I kind of agree.
Yep.
I kind of agree. But the thing is that he is 16 years old.
Shocking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
Certainly, I think that it's 16 may seem very young, but he obviously has thought this very through. Seems like a well-educated and intelligent guy to be able to do all of this research and all of that. And this self-radicalization and this radicalization in general is actually much more common than I think many people realize. It is prevalent on the internet. I think you only have to look at, for example, some of Donald Trump's supporters and the kind of crazy views that they have, about QAnon and all of that, to realize that it is not as rare as we think it is. As a Christian myself, I'm very aware that there are Christian groups, even here in Singapore, that have a very low tolerance, a view of other religions. I think that they're very careful to tread the line here in Singapore because of the obvious laws. But it's not uncommon, sadly, for them to have views that are antithetical to other religions. And I think online, this kind of hate flourishes a lot. If you want to look for it, it's very easily found. Okay, kudos definitely to Singapore government for unearthing this plot. I'm just amazed they managed to do it and to have so much detail and to really track, to see all the things that this guy had done. Without the Internal Security Act, I think that we would really be in like other countries whereby you can't do anything until something happens.
And then you have to just put the
and
flowers.
It's terrible. And it's interesting also
sad.
that they are not going to have a public trial about this, which I think is the right thing to do because it will exacerbate the kind of feelings between religions. Because, Lee Kuan Yew said this a long time ago, and I think it's very true. He said that, religious instability and religious thought like that is a powder keg that can really ignite the country. We have to proceed very carefully.
I agree that, like you both of you were saying, that the right-wing extremism is really rearing its head. But you're talking about getting radicalized online. But I think I want to go in a bit deeper and say that, we have to be so alert at a time like this because you may need to make sure that over and above online, you also create an environment at school, at home, around us everywhere, amongst friends, where prejudice, stereotyping, partisan views around religion and race is not discussed in this kind of negative way, even informally, even round the dining table. I have seen it, I'm sad to say, where sometimes because of stereotyping, you'll have parents or there's a terrorist attack, so, I tell you, those Muslims. Stereotyping. And then there's a young kid somewhere, and you're taking in like sponge that, oh my God. So we need to also examine and relook how the germination of the idea comes about.
Sure.
We have to be really
very
conscious
valid
about
point,
that.
yes.
Because it's all around us.
Yeah.
I mean, there are prejudices, there's right-wing extremism, like you said, the Proud Boys and Jewish-Palestinian situation. And I mean, it's everybody, there's a conflict situation. You're young, you don't know what to pick from. Like in this case, the boy actually thought ISIS equals Islam.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's all hitting him.
Yeah.
And then he uses all that energy to plan this.
I think that's
so
a good
we have
point.
To be
I think that
very
even if
careful.
people are not radicalized in the sense that this guy is, there is still too much of the prejudice and the hate against other races, other religions that's floating around.
No, and it's discussed very casually, Gilbert.
You know what I couldn't stand?
Just discuss.
You know I couldn't stand? I couldn't stand the comments some people made on some of the broadsheet sites online about this story and how they go pinpoint a religion to. There's some of these comments, the vitriol, the ignorance, and these people really think, that they are so self-righteous.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And I think that there's a need actually for these sites themselves, whether it's Today or Straits Times or Mothership or whatever
or
it is,
CNA.
to police their own sites.
Oh,
The
that's
comments
interesting.
there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I see comments there which are really shocking.
Yeah.
And they are not removed, and they
reinforce these beliefs.
Exactly. And you want to talk about censorship and free speech? No, there is a limit to it. Hate speech is not free speech.
Yeah.
That is something that we have to be very clear about. Even in the United States, the Supreme Court has ruled, hate speech is not protected, and you cannot get away with that.
You see how far hate speech have been masked and under the guise of, this is got to be real because someone in political power is saying it, so therefore it should be correct and manages to convince 70 plus million Americans
exactly.
that this is correct.
Yeah, exactly. And here in Singapore too, I do want to call this out because I think it's very important. There's been a rising xenophobia in Singapore that is really repugnant. People think nothing about saying things about these Indians, coming to our country or these, whatever it is, and
Yes.
we know
I've
that the
heard that.
disgruntled
I've
people
heard that,
are the ones who are online. These are the losers in life, and they blame other people for the problems in their own life. And you guys really are losers, when you do something like that.
When Gilbert goes on this tirade, my gastric starts to act up, man.
No,
You're innocent, you don't have to worry.
No, I think the point is to be aware, to be conscientious, especially when I reach out and talk to the mothers,
also for us,
to the parents, because you see, that's where it could start.
Yes.
Because you just throw a comment and say, oh, that stupid neighbor, blah, blah, blah. These Indians are the curry. And it's just being like sponge being taken in by children around you.
Yes.
And that's very, very... You have to be alert about that kind of thing.
You know what I feel so sorry for where this kid is concerned, and everyone should focus on that. His family, his folks, and especially if any of these people who write hate stuff like this, and if they are parents themselves and they write these things, shame on them. Because
and
the
I
first
think
thing you should reach out to,
yeah.
your heart should go out to his folks.
Yeah.
Can we say, but this their fault too? They didn't raise him right. They didn't even know he was doing. Hey, come on, man!
No.
It could happen to you.
It can happen. Yes, you never know.
It could happen to you.
You think you know what your kids are doing all the time, or what they're doing online?
Okay, guys.
Oh, you'll be surprised.
Guys,
Moving
move on.
along.
Okay, so now the
Time for
next
contact tracing.
story basically is a bit of good news in this time of crisis. Is that the use of the Trace Together tokens and the Trace Together app has actually reduced the contact tracing time by half. So that's something that's very positive. And I think that, it's very important for people to understand this, first of all, is that Singapore is one of the few countries, really,
Yeah.
where you're able to do contact tracing for several reasons. First of all, we don't have a huge outbreak of cases. In a country like the US or a country like in England, when there are so many millions of cases, you can forget about contact tracing
Correct.
because
Agreed.
it's just impossible. Whether you have an app or whatever it is, it's not going to be possible. So we're lucky that we're not in that kind of situation, but it still is very important because knowing who an infected person has been in contact with will immediately be able to ring fence that group of possibly infected people and prevent further widespread spread within the community. So I know that this is something that we've covered before, and certainly there's been a lot of controversy and noise out there about privacy and all of that, which I think is kind of nonsensical anyhow. But please do continue using the trace together.
I just want to add on.
token.
You see, Joe Biden just became president, and he in his first couple of days, right? The briefings from his press secretaries.
Oh my God, it's so refreshing.
Oh, absolutely! Right?
I know.
So
Fact-
different from the
factual,
McEnany. What's her
yeah.
name? McEnany, whatever. Yeah, Nini McEnany. Yeah. So basically, he did mention, that contact tracing is a conundrum that America faces because they haven't gotten down to that.
Yes.
But we have nailed it down to a T. So people shouldn't kalbu and become
Yes.
such great pantats over this nonsense.
Exactly.
You
So
know
you
what I
see,
mean? Huh?
Think of the greater good.
You know what's pantat?
Yeah.
Okay.
So trace together, I feel, well, it came about for a certain reason, and even though the hiccups, it's followed the process. It was there for a specific need, and it's very good to hear that that need is being properly fulfilled and completed, and it's on its right path.
Yeah, because
That's all.
This thing is so hard for so many countries to do.
Yes.
Yeah, but remember
And it's
last
so
week we were
necessary for us.
Last
Yeah.
week we were
Yeah.
discussing about, should it be used for this or trace together, not used for that. It is being used for the right reasons. And
Yep.
let's continue doing that because the world is going through the second wave and now the third wave and
fourth wave.
variations.
Yes.
wave.
And this
So
virus
just
is
keep
very
tracing.
insidious, so we have to be really
Very-
careful.
yes,
That's
yes,
the
yes.
thing. Which leads us to the next thing we're going to be talking about is the Prime Minister has cautioned Singaporeans that, celebrate Chinese New Year, but please do so responsibly. We do not want to repeat what happened last year, because if you guys remember, it was after Chinese New Year last year that a lot of the SHIT hit the FAN, and we definitely
Hey, say it
suddenly-
lah.
don't want
Stop being such a prude lah, day.
No, wait,
That's the
you
thing,
say it
right?
for him.
It was
You
when the
say it,
shit hit the fan.
Fan.
and we get an R rating.
What's wrong with this guy, man? What
know.
R rating? This is a freaking podcast.
Who's going to be talking about this? Is it you?
No,
Is
no,
it
no, no,
you?
no, no,
You?
it's
you.
Me?
You.
So
The Prime
you
Minister-
have to tell
Prime
us. No,
Minister's
I want
message,
to
right?
know.
Yes.
The Prime Minister, he's nudging Singapore to show restraint during CNY. You tell us, how do you feel this is going to affect your Chinese New Year celebrations?
Okay, so my family, my extended family, they're very, very good Peranakan, responsible citizens.
Good.
We started getting text messages about
As
2 weeks,
if.
3 weeks ago from various relatives asking if there was a roster that we were setting up for to visits. You
Oh,
know,
that's so
and the reason is
wonderful.
because my mom is the most senior relative. My mom is 93 this year.
So everybody
and
has to come and
92.
visit her.
Yeah, everyone has to come visit her, So they all wanted to know. So we're scheduling it this way. And then they changed it. They said that instead of 8 each time, it's 8 in the day. So just to be double sure, one of us even called the ministry to get clarification. And they said, listen, if it's your family members that you're seeing day to day, you don't have to count those people in.
Yeah,
even
it's-
if they come from a different household.
External visitors.
Yeah, exactly. It's external visitors that you do not see, So we are doing that. So there are certain relatives that are staying in one area and then, not visiting on the first day and all of that. So,
I want to ask you, have you got that recorded message of Yam Seng?
Yes.
So are you going to use that? So you
Not
take
Yam
all the
Seng.
lessons.
Yam Seng
It's
in
not Yam
but
Seng,
so
it's
is
the lo hei, the lo hei.
Yeah,
so they've
the
got
lo
all
hei.
these record lo pupu kau sang da da da.
What?
Kau sang pupu.
No, that one sounds like something that Mandalorian
Okay,
or
you got an
little
Indian person, you
Yoda
got a
would say
Eurasian,
on
and
you
then-
say
Star
it, Kaosan
Wars.
Pupu?
What,
I'm a
boo-boo,
Peranakan
boo-boo?
Chinese who lived 20 years in the US.
Okay,
I
it doesn't
can't say
matter.
these things.
Just make sure.
You mean
No,
you're talking about
guys.
the low hay, is it? Not the
I'm talking about the
yamsing.
low hay.
Okay, not yamsing. Yamsing is for
No, but
weddings.
there's also a recorded yamsing.
Yes, that one I know.
So there's
but
a
not-
recorded
no.
yamsing, there's a recorded low hay.
We
Just
are
to make sure,
disintegrating
guys.
here.
Yeah, please
Yes.
follow
No need-
those rules.
So follow the rules. The
Please
low
say
hay
that one
thing,
more
we
time.
know what to say.
Please say that one more time.
Khao sang poo poo.
I have no idea what you just said. I'm gonna get
Nor do I.
Chinese people
but I
writing to
only
complain
know.
now.
No. The thing is, I remember when we have our rotary lohe. I'm sorry, I'm not making fun, but it sounds so happy you feel when with all the different Rotarians
yes.
you
There's
are,
all of the,
doing the
Gilbert and I
lohe.
Gilbert and I will not tell you the right way to say it because we're just gonna leave it the way it is because it's so funny.
No, but I love it,
Khao sang
and
boo
I'm going to
sang
miss it
boo
as well. No, I'm going to miss it as well because we can't
No,
do
you
the
can
lohe.
still do the low hay, but you just do it with the mouth, with your mask
But then you
on.
won't feel the tongue.
Okay, that's one thing I want to ask you, man.
Yeah.
When at home, right? Can we still make that noise at home?
Yes, of course,
We
at home
Yeah.
you can.
right?
Yeah,
Just
of course.
outside
This
in
is exactly
restaurants
what
and-
my mom did last night. We had
yeah.
low hay at my house last night because my friend Charles, in case you're watching this,
Saturday.
from Lean Bento, wonderful company, sent over a healthy bento low hay. So we did this at my house, and my mom then said, "Hey, we cannot do right. Must
No,
cover."
that's
I said, "No,
So
this is at home. It's
sweet. Yeah,
okay at
yeah,
home.
yeah.
You know, it's only in the restaurant."
So nice.
Okay,
No, so
we
that's
take
it.
PM Lee's words.
take it seriously.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I haven't
Take
even had
care.
a single low hair. This guy started already.
No,
Lawa,
no.
lawa, this fella.
Oh, this year.
Chinese lah.
Yeah.
Hello. And then I
but
won. Chopped liver lah.
I'll
What's
miss
that
my.
called? The Shrani, is it?
Yeah. No, he changes based on what
Blood-
we are discussing.
bloody
Yes, that's right.
racist.
Whenever he wants, he
Is that
becomes
you
Chinese.
told me it was an okay term.
No, he changes like a chameleon. When
Of
he wants,
course.
he's
Yes.
this Peranakan.
Yeah,
when he
that's right.
wants,
When
he's
he becomes-
Of course.
Eurasian. When he wants, he becomes Indian. Once he did that as well, I noticed.
Call me
Yes.
the Cosmo, man. I'm the
Yeah,
Cosmo.
man. Okay,
It's
moving
something.
on.
I'm gonna kick you. I'm gonna kick you really
It's
hard.
a
later on.
compliment.
No, it's not.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway,
so now
let's
you
talk about
go on to the big
transgenders.
story.
Yeah, I think that
And
sort of
you
segues.
worm your way out of this.
No, segues into it beautifully. So you can be Peranakan, you can be Chinese, you can
So
be
let's talk
Indian,
about
you can be.
but transgenders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, multiracial
There's-
to multisexual.
I mean, that's what we're supposed to be
Okay.
talking about, right?
No, tell us,
There was
because
a
this is-
protest.
yeah.
There was a protest held by 5 persons. 3 were arrested outside of the Ministry of Education without a proper police permit. Anyway, protests cannot happen anywhere else, right? They can only do it in Hong Lim Park.
Yes.
And that's also provided their permit gets approved.
Yes.
Now, apparently, there was already a warning being issued out that the protest will occur, right? And they did turn up. 2 decided to conform and leave because the police, security came, the building security came and told them to disperse. They refused. Then the cops came, told them to disperse, otherwise they will be arrested because
So
we're
given a
directing
lot of
you to
warnings.
leave now.
Yes.
They did not. And then obviously they were arrested. Now, the issue at hand is about
So they were protesting.
about the transgender discrimination in Singapore schools, because this particular person, the affected person, wrote on Reddit and ranted on it, saying that's the person that really was affected by this.
They call him
Okay.
Ashley.
Yeah, Ashley. Now, Ashley said that he got bullied while in all boys primary school. He's always been confused about his sexuality. And eventually, long story cut short, he went to, he was taken.
Wait, hang on. Does he identify as a she?
Yes.
So we should use the pronoun she.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
then went to IMH to a gender clinic at IMH and got an official medical diagnosis based on what has been written up. This Ashley has written.
Yeah.
She said that she's suffering from gender dysphoria.
Dysphoria.
And this is formally actually diagnosed. Now, after that, I quote, my schooling life in the MOE system has gone from great to utter trash, pretty much forcing me to transfer from my current school to a poly course polytechnic course, which is not really ideal and not exactly in line with what ambitions I had in mind. Gender dysphoria is listed as a disorder under gender identity disorders in the ICD-10 by the WHO, unquote. Now, what she is saying is that when she actually wanted to go for the hormone therapy, MOE came in and stopped the treatment. And the doctor that was attending to her had to pull out. And then initially what was mentioned here by Ashley was that they told her that this is something new. They would need to well, in lack of a better term, need to mull it over, okay? And then we'll get back to her about this. So she said that I was informed, okay, that she had to cut her hair to fit the boy's hairstyle in the handbook, the school handbook, and that she was specifically made to wear the male uniform. That could probably have slipped under the radar, but seems unlikely as all these troubles started the same month. In addition, if I became unable to fit, I quote, if I became unable to fit in the boy's uniform, if I somehow got hormone therapy, I would be expelled from school instead of being allowed to wear the female uniform.
How old is this, Ashley?
I don't know.
We don't know.
There's nothing here.
School.
So I
Hang on. This is the next thing I want. This is the kicker here.
Okay.
She alleges that the principal's explanation for this was that, and she quoted him, was that due to your presentation, you would be as disruptive to the school environment as a student with severe autism.
Okay. Several things here. First of all, this was on Reddit and it was anonymous, right? So we have no, there's been no, backup or no further information about this. So I think that we always have to be just a little bit careful about things that are on the internet. Not saying that this is false or true or whatever it is. It's just that it is one person writing anonymously on Reddit, and Reddit is.
But hang on. MOE responded.
Yes, MOE responded. Yes, and I think it's very important to read MOE's response as well. They're saying we're aware of the post that MOE interfered with the students' hormonal treatment. This is not true.
Not true.
And they said basically that MOE and schools work closely and respect the professional advice given by the healthcare professionals.
In the Straits Times, the student who is in her second year of pre-university education, said she was set to undergo hormone therapy as part of a treatment, but was stopped from doing so after MOE intervened.
Yeah.
Right? Now, referring to the student, the male pronoun, the MOE said,
yes,
we invite the student to approach the school to clarify and discuss how the school can support his schooling better.
Yeah.
Okay? So basically, it does seem the way I read it, that this is not a fake story.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that it's fake. I'm just saying that we don't know all of the details here. I think there are several points here to be made. It says here, in August, I went to see my doctor again as I had just turned 18. So originally, they were under 18, right? So they turned 18. And so he told me that MOE had called for a meeting with him, demanding he stop writing memos to the school or referring people and all of that. So I think that this is still up in the air as to what actually the situation is. One thing that we can either discuss the whole issue about Ashley, which I think we don't have enough information right now, or we can discuss the protest, although they are linked, basically.
I'd like to say something about Ashley.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, because in one of the there are a couple of things here. You have a young person who's decided that no, this is not the sex I want to be, and this whole situation is taking place when that person is going to transition the gender.
Yeah.
So to do that, in fact, Ashley has mentioned that he was supported by his teachers, by his parents, by his fellow friends.
Yeah.
And while this is going on, MOE comes into the picture, and please be mindful, MOE went to the doctor because they also found out that the doctor was distributing flyers to other, basically advertising for these hormone tablets.
Oh, really?
Now, what I see in all this, more importantly than MOE, is the fact that Ashley has already got so much support from the friends, from his teachers, from his parents, which very clearly shows the mindset of the Singaporeans changing. Now, when you come to MOE again, like it's back to procedures. I think of a parent who is just has a normal kid going to school. We say normal, maybe it's a wrong word, but today you say anything, it can be constituted as wrong. And I'm sure that the school has procedures like, no, you don't keep your hair long. Or no, if you want to be in this school, this is what you wear. Now, even if you want to change those procedures, again, there's time needed. I don't think anybody can just turn around and say, okay, one kid who is going through this, how are we going to allow this to just happen?
Is this a co-ed school to begin with, or is this an
It's a
all board?
pre-university education.
So it's co-ed.
Co-ed,
Yes.
okay, all right.
So the point is, I think they've taken a correct stance. Come to the counselor. Let's talk. Because I also want to mention that there are so many cases now which are coming out in the open about sex change regret.
Yeah.
They're coming out about detransitioning.
I think that this is a very young age.
Yeah. So I
know.
think it's right to be a bit careful
No, there needs to
and
be
to
procedures.
be a bit
There needs to be
correct.
procedures.
We
I
are
do
back to
agree with that.
procedures.
I think there needs to be counselling. There needs to be procedures. I think there are a couple of things here I want to say. One is, I think it's very important that this person get all the counselling that she needs.
Before
But
you make that
also,
final
once
decision.
the parents and her decide, then there needs to be a procedure put
To
in
follow.
place
Correct.
for her to follow. All right.
Correct.
The other thing is that I think that MOE needs to be much clearer in their communication as well, and also educate themselves about pronouns. And these things that have more sensitivity. And we've talked about this before. I think that often the government departments have a problem with
It
communication.
seems
No,
to be
but-
prevalent amongst most government departments.
But I would really say that the way society is changing so rapidly, so many of these terms, which are being
of
used
course.
and this.
But
so
the thing about this, and it's
we
important
have to
state
give them the
that
benefit.
sex change surgery has been legal in Singapore for decades.
I know.
You
I know, I
In
know, I
fact,
have friends.
when many countries it was illegal, people would come here for sex reassignment surgery.
Okay.
No, so it's not that anyone is against
Yeah.
that. Again, it's the procedure of the university or
No,
the
I think,
school
I
or
think
the,
the
you know.
bureaucracy,
Or the
the bureaucracy
department.
needs to really lighten up a little bit and know how to handle this new era.
Chris-
in terms of communication and how they,
Correct.
they
Communication,
manage
yes,
No,
this.
but
I
I
think
think
more-
procedure needs to be
yes.
there because you think about it as a very young person, and you cannot simply say that you can go ahead and just do this very quickly. Because even for adults, even in the West, they need to go through psychological
Correct,
counseling
counseling.
and vetting and
I
all that
think-
before you're given this.
Correct. And it's not lighten up. I think they need to they will have to keep up with the times, which are changing so fast.
I keep thinking to myself because of how, this again is alleged, of how this person, Ashley, had said the principal, the principal had said it to her.
Sure, that's terrible. I think that's terrible.
You see, it starts from things like that. How does it hurt someone?
Sure.
How much pain this person is going through.
That is
however,
sensitivity counseling as well for
yeah.
educators.
But you know what I cannot stand? About these 5 people who ended up in front of MOE. There are other ways to do things.
Yes. I agree.
I
think that kudos to you for caring.
Oh, you think so? You don't think it's virtuous signaling?
I don't think they will put themselves into this kind of a trouble for that. I think they believe it, But there are definitely better ways of doing this. And the thing about it is that you may make the news by protesting, but how does it actually help your ultimate aim, Educating the public about transgenderism is much more important than holding up signs outside of MOE.
People, this is not America now, okay?
No,
You're not going to be storming Parliament House.
No, but oh God, no.
Exactly.
No, but that's
So don't
not
do
even
things
the
like
point.
this.
The point is when they behave in that manner, it comes across a bit as frivolous.
Yeah.
They've not gone through it. And that's precisely the point. Because you come back again and say, they're kids. And if kids are not counseled and they are not shown their choices and the effects and consequences of those choices, they might make wrong ones and live to regret it.
Yeah.
And that's where this detransitioning comes across. You see.
Agree. Because I think what this person on Facebook wrote about, Timothy Anand Weerasakara, made me think, He made a very good point. He said, may I humbly suggest an analogy? If a person is struggling with body dysmorphia and wants to starve themselves, the loving thing to do is to help them reconcile with biological standards of normalcy, not entertain the dysmorphia. He further says, if a person is depressive and suicidal, we carefully counsel them to appreciate their life, not egg them on to death. We don't entertain the suicidality.
I would not equate suicide and body dysmorphia with transgenderism. I think transgenderism is real and that people have a right to it, and it is very real. But I think that procedures need to be in place to make sure that you get all of the counseling that you need, all of the care and all of that. And then after all of that, when you still decide to do it, fine.
Yeah, but there are also quite significant numbers of cases of de-transformation too, isn't it? You see, this is what Daisy is saying, which I also agree. But he's also saying, if you read further on, that there are significant. It's just quite worrying as well.
Which is why you don't then say no, you can't do it, and you don't say yes, you can.
Okay, no, but MOE never said no, you can't do it.
Exactly.
They went to the doctor.
Yes.
So now it's
correct. So now the I think this whole issue here stems from this one thing, that formally diagnosed. She's been formally diagnosed with having this issue, right? And so therefore something should be done. And how can anyone come and stop this? Because it has been medically diagnosed.
Just because it has been medically diagnosed does not mean that the person is ready for all of that. I think that because especially if you look at the age here, they just turned 18, right? So I think that doing all of the counseling and the processes are absolutely essential
Not necessary,
to lead them.
But parental consent has been given.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, but again,
she still belongs
Chris,
to her
nobody
parents.
is stopping her.
Yeah, no one's stopping her. That's
Nobody.
the thing.
But it's just that she can't continue in school.
No, they are not.
No.
You see, it's different. I remember many years back when there was a discussion about how there were some young kids who wanted to wear the turung to school. And I remember this discussion precisely because the school principal between the devil and the deep sea, where you're turning around and saying, if I allow this, what happens to the other kids? Because the exception doesn't prove the rule, you see.
So it starts a precedent.
So again, it's steps. I can imagine the principal there wringing her hands and wondering what to do. Because no, you don't want to stop her.
Like me
but
getting
at the
gastric
same
now.
time, you want to make sure that due process is
Absolutely,
carried
it's
out.
a very serious issue, and
Yeah.
there needs to be treated respectfully.
Yeah.
Okay,
But-
so
Yeah.
that's wonderful, and we wish Ashley
All the best. Yes,
and the
yes.
principal and the parents, and I hope they all come out of it, without being too hurt.
Yeah. So Daisy, is all yours now.
Oh yes, I'm closing, but before that, just your final statements and your song, and looking forward to that. Go ahead.
Hello, you want to go first?
Okay. Again, I think that a lot of what we talked about today has one thing in common, which is respect for other people. The kind of respect that should be given to domestic helpers, which goes both ways, definitely. Respect for other religions, and no matter what your own personal feelings are. Respect for other people's well-being in societies when you take care to go out and use your trace together, and to be respectful during Chinese New Year, to not gather and break the laws, and respect for people who are different from us. So it all comes down to that. As what I've always said, be safe and be kind. Chris.
Okay, to all the young people out there, sometimes if you're a teenager, you're in a very confused adolescent stage of life, and that's understandable. But sometimes when you think you know something, you might not actually know it too well. Talk to mommy and daddy. Talk to an adult. It's okay to do that. And there's a song from Diana Ross, and it's a theme song from Mahogany. And I just want you to think this through. It goes something like this. Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know?
Where are you going to? Do you know?
Do you get what you're hoping for?
Do you get what you're hoping for?
Do you look behind you? There are no open doors.
There are no open doors.
What are you hoping for?
What are you hoping for?
Do you know?
Do you know?
See lah, this is called retribution, no? Because
Where's
every
the
time we
answer?
tekan her,
I love
there
this
is
song.
no answer, right?
Such a beautiful
So it's a
song.
state of confusion that you're always going to be in. Think things through. Think ethics, think morals, think values, think scruples before you embark on anything that you think is ideally right. It might not be, but it's okay to be confused. We are all still growing up, including Gilbert.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
Any day now.
So, the stories today, I think, also reflect the importance of process and procedure in our society. I mean, process and procedure are clearly important to maintain a civil society and to deliver justice. Now, the same procedures help us to apprehend a terrorist or a would-be terrorist who could commit a crime. But then sometimes it's these same procedures that can be seen to delay justice. And then sometimes we get worried because we think these are the procedures that can infringe on our privacy. But we have to acknowledge that process and procedures and rules have to keep up with the times. And having said that, there will also be a process to change those procedures and the rules and the laws. And sometimes even in that, we make mistakes. As we try to become a better society, there's sometimes one step backward and, 2 steps forward. So I'd just like to end by saying, in the words of E.A. Buchianeri,
Who?
errors do not cease to be errors simply because they are ratified into law. And therefore, there's always recourse if we see that there's something wrong. So on that note, I want to say namaste, thank you so much, and hope you turn on, listen to us, and like us, and spread the word.
Yes.
So namaste.
Thank you.
E.A. Buchanan, what? What's the guy's name again?
Stay calm.
E.A. Buchanan, what?
Tourette's.
What? E.A. Buchanan. Okay, bye. That is, ladies and gentlemen, the mating sound of a Himalayas llama looking for a mate.
Are we cut?
Bye, everybody.